Harley Davidson was once the undisputed king of American motorcycles, a symbol of freedom, rebellion, and raw power. But today, riders are walking away, sales are plummeting, loyal customers are furious, and some say Harley went woke and went broke. But what if I told you the real story goes much deeper? This isn't just about branding. It's about the future of American manufacturing, the death of legacy companies, and the battle for Harley's survival. Stick around, because this is something you never saw coming. What's happening? Harley Davidson was once the ultimate American motorcycle brand. So what went wrong? Harley's leadership took the company in a direction that alienated its most loyal customers. Instead of staying true to its rugged, outlaw-inspired image, the company started chasing a new audience, one that longtime riders didn't recognize. The first warning sign came when Harley Davidson embraced corporate activism and social messaging. Instead of catering to the hardcore biker culture that built its empire, the company shifted toward a more polished, politically conscious brand identity. Harley started promoting diversity initiatives and sponsorships that, while well-intentioned, felt forced and disconnected from the core audience. Many bikers weren't looking for political messaging, they just wanted to ride. But the biggest blow came with Harley's push for electric motorcycles. The release of the Harley Davidson Livewire, the company's first all-electric motorcycle, sent shockwaves through the biker community. Riders weren't just confused, they were angry. Harley Davidson had built its legacy on thunderous V-twin engines, the kind of deep growling roar that defined the Harley experience. The idea of a silent, battery-powered Harley was unthinkable. Harley's leadership tried to argue that this was the future, that electric bikes would attract a younger, environmentally conscious audience. But their traditional customers weren't interested. They felt abandoned, like Harley had turned its back on everything it once stood for. What followed was a backlash that no one at Harley Davidson had prepared for. But this wasn't just about branding. Customers took real action to show their discontent. The biker boycott. Harley's biggest problem isn't competition. It's the customers who refuse to buy. When a company loses its most devoted customers, the damage is often irreversible. That's exactly what happened to Harley Davidson. Rather than supporting the company's new direction, bikers responded with their wallets, and the message was loud and clear. Instead of purchasing new Harleys, riders started restoring old models, bringing classic motorcycles back to life instead of investing in the brand's modern lineup. Sales of vintage Harley Davidsons skyrocketed as longtime riders chose to maintain the bikes they loved rather than embrace Harley's new vision. But the boycott didn't stop there. In a move that shocked the industry, Harley-free motorcycle clubs started forming. For decades, Harley Davidson dominated the American biker scene. Owning a Harley wasn't just a choice, it was a badge of honor. Now, new motorcycle clubs were actively rejecting Harley Davidson, removing any official ties to the brand. Social media played a huge role in amplifying the movement. Riders shared videos explaining why they were walking away from Harley, detailing their frustration with corporate decisions, rising prices, and the loss of the company's rebellious identity. At biker rallies like Sturgis, once a showcase for Harley Davidson's dominance, the tone had changed. Instead of celebrating new Harley models, many riders were openly discussing alternatives. Some turned to Indian motorcycles, Triumph, and even Japanese brands like Honda and Yamaha, brands that, unlike Harley, were still catering to their core audience. As more bikers abandoned Harley Davidson, the company's dealerships began to feel the effects. The dealership crisis. The people selling Harleys don't believe in the company anymore. Here's why. Harley Davidson dealerships were once the lifeblood of the brand. More than just places to buy motorcycles, these dealerships served as community hubs for bikers, hosting events, rallies, and ride-outs that brought riders together. But as Harley's image changed, so did the experience at its dealerships. The first major sign of trouble was a sharp decline in new motorcycle sales. Dealers across the country reported that customers were no longer interested in the latest Harley models. Some dealers saw their inventory sitting untouched for months, unable to sell bikes that once would have flown off the showroom floor. The problem wasn't just branding, it was also price. Over the years, Harley Davidson steadily increased the cost of its motorcycles, making them less accessible to the blue-collar riders who had been the backbone of the company. A brand new Harley could now cost over $30,000, a price tag that put the company's bikes out of reach for many traditional customers. As a result, some dealerships started shifting their focus. Instead of selling new Harleys, many began prioritizing used models and other brands. Some even dropped Harley Davidson entirely, switching to brands that were more in tune with the needs of real bikers. Many dealership owners felt abandoned, accusing Harley's executives of pushing an out-of-touch vision that ignored the reality of the market. The crisis reached a breaking point when dealerships started closing their doors. Across the country, Harley Davidson dealers were shutting down, unable to keep up with declining sales and rising costs. And as dealerships struggled, Harley Davidson's financial health took a massive hit. The financial fallout. For a brand that once dominated the motorcycle industry, Harley Davidson's financial collapse was staggering. What was once an American powerhouse known for its rugged bikes and loyal following was now struggling to stay afloat, hemorrhaging both revenue and trust at an alarming rate. As customer loyalty evaporated and dealerships struggled, Harley's stock price plummeted. Investors who once saw Harley as an unstoppable American icon began losing faith. The company's earnings reports painted a grim picture, showing sharp declines in motorcycle sales, revenue, and market share. Even international markets, once a key focus for Harley's expansion, failed to deliver the growth the company desperately needed. The impact wasn't just felt on Wall Street. Across the country, Harley-Davidson factories faced layoffs and closures. Entire towns that relied on Harley's manufacturing plants suddenly found themselves in economic uncertainty. Former employees, many of whom had worked for Harley for decades, were left scrambling for new jobs as the brand that once prided itself on American craftsmanship outsourced more production overseas. To make matters worse, Harley's attempts to course-correct only deepened the crisis. The company announced plans to double down on electric motorcycles, hoping that appealing to younger, eco-conscious riders would revive its fortunes. But the strategy backfired. The younger demographic wasn't interested in Harley-Davidson, preferring more affordable, technologically advanced options from brands like Zero Motorcycles and Honda. Meanwhile, longtime Harley riders saw this shift as further proof that Harley had lost its way, abandoning its core audience in pursuit of a trend that didn't align with its brand identity. At the same time, Harley's competition was thriving. Indian Motorcycles, once a forgotten competitor, saw a massive resurgence in popularity, successfully marketing itself as a brand that upheld classic American motorcycling values while still embracing modern technology. Honda, Triumph, and even Ducati started attracting former Harley customers, offering motorcycles that blended performance, affordability, and heritage, something Harley seemed to have lost sight of. With declining sales, a tarnished reputation, and growing competition, one question became impossible to ignore. Could Harley-Davidson survive? But while Harley was collapsing, other brands were rising to take its place. Indian Motorcycles, America's new favorite bike? As Harley stumbles, its biggest rival is stepping up. With Harley struggling, another name is stepping into the spotlight: Indian Motorcycles. Once a forgotten relic of the past, Indian has made a stunning comeback, positioning itself as the ultimate alternative for traditional Harley riders. Harley's mistakes have created the perfect storm for Indian's rise. While Harley alienated loyal customers with overpriced bikes, corporate messaging, and a shift away from its rebellious biker culture, Indian doubled down on everything that made Harley great in the first place. Indian has successfully tapped into a market of riders who want classic American motorcycles without the corporate baggage. One of Indian's biggest advantages is its revival of classic bike models that bikers actually want. Indian has carefully crafted a lineup that includes the Chief, Scout, and Challenger, modern machines that retain the soul of old-school motorcycles. Unlike Harley's controversial redesigns and electric experiments, Indian has focused on performance, reliability, and an authentic riding experience. The brand's success is not just about nostalgia, it is about staying true to biker culture. Indian has actively embraced the rebellious outlaw attitude that Harley seems to be running away from. Could Indian officially surpass Harley as America's most popular motorcycle brand? The numbers suggest it is possible. Indian sales have steadily increased over the past 5 years, while Harley's have declined year after year. More riders are trading in their Harleys for an Indian, and many first-time buyers are skipping Harley altogether. But Indian is not Harley's only problem. Foreign brands are taking over too. The global invasion. While Harley is losing ground in the U.S. market, international motorcycle manufacturers are seeing record sales. Brands like Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha, and Triumph are growing their presence in the cruiser and touring motorcycle segments, offering high-quality alternatives to Harley at a fraction of the cost. Honda has introduced bikes like the Rebel 1100, a modern tech-filled cruiser that costs significantly less than a Harley while still offering the style and performance that younger riders want. Honda's success is a sign that motorcycle buyers are prioritizing affordability, reliability, and practicality, things Harley struggles with. Kawasaki, Yamaha, and Suzuki are also capitalizing on Harley's failures. Kawasaki's Vulcan series offers powerful, stylish cruisers at lower prices, while Yamaha's Bolt and Star Venture motorcycles have drawn attention from ex-Harley riders looking for an alternative. These Japanese brands have perfected the balance between performance and affordability, something Harley has increasingly failed to do. But the biggest surprise? The resurgence of British and Indian manufacturers. Triumph and Royal Enfield have experienced a major comeback, appealing to riders who value authenticity and heritage without the corporate nonsense. Triumph's Bonneville Bobber and Speedmaster have become favorites among cruiser riders, while Royal Enfield's Meteor and Super Meteor are proving that affordable retro-style bikes can sell in large numbers. Could the future of motorcycling be dominated by non-American brands? If Harley continues down its current path, it is entirely possible. More and more American riders are looking beyond the traditional cruiser market, and the industry is shifting toward lighter, more practical, and more affordable bikes. And Harley's biggest miscalculation was not just competition, it was betting big on electric motorcycles. The electric motorcycle gamble. Harley Davidson put its reputation on the line with its live-wire electric motorcycle, betting that electric bikes would be the future. Instead, it became one of the company's biggest failures, a gamble that alienated loyal riders, failed to attract new customers, and drained company resources. The Livewire was marketed as a high-performance, environmentally friendly motorcycle for the modern rider, but the problem was Harley's own customer base did not want it. Traditional Harley riders who prized loud engines, long-haul reliability, and a rebellious biker culture saw the electric push as another sign that Harley had abandoned its core values. Few were willing to spend nearly $30,000 on a bike that lacked the sound, feel, and soul of a real motorcycle. Beyond customer rejection, the technology itself was a problem. Electric motorcycles remain expensive, have limited range, and take hours to charge, making them impractical for long-distance touring, one of Harley's strongest markets. The Livewire was never built for the average Harley rider, and it showed. While other companies like Tesla successfully marketed electric innovation, Harley struggled to justify its shift. To make matters worse, Harley spun off Livewire into a separate company, further alienating riders. Many saw it as proof that Harley was more focused on chasing electric vehicle trends than staying true to its roots. Instead of adapting and innovating within its traditional lineup, the company appeared desperate to reinvent itself, leading to a brand identity crisis. The result? Livewire sales have been dismal. Dealerships struggled to move inventory, and the company is losing money at an alarming rate. Even worse, competitors like Zero Motorcycles and Energica managed to outperform Livewire in the electric bike space, leaving Harley in a no-man's land, too modern for its legacy audience, but too outdated to compete with true EV innovators. Can Harley recover from this massive misstep? It will not be easy. The brand's reputation has been damaged, and the Livewire experiment proved that electric motorcycles are not ready to replace traditional gas-powered bikes, at least not yet. But beyond business mistakes, Harley's political moves made the situation even worse. The Go Woke, Go Broke debate. One of the biggest controversies surrounding Harley Davidson is whether the company's embrace of corporate activism contributed to its decline. Over the past decade, Harley has increasingly aligned itself with diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, climate change policies, and social justice messaging, which many longtime riders have interpreted as a betrayal of Harley's traditional values. What was once a brand built on rebellion and blue-collar American grit now seems to some like just another corporate giant pandering to progressive trends. Harley's focus on environmental, social, and governance policies has sparked outrage among some riders who see it as corporate virtue signaling. The company's push for electric motorcycles, corporate diversity initiatives, and progressive advertising campaigns has led many to believe that Harley is more interested in pleasing investors and corporate elites than serving its core customers. In particular, Harley's electric live-wire motorcycle, once touted as the future of the brand, flopped hard, with low sales and lukewarm reception from the riding community. Many saw it as a tone-deaf move that ignored what Harley riders actually wanted. This is part of a broader trend of brands suffering backlash for political messaging. Companies like Bud Light, Nike, and Disney have faced major consumer boycotts after making divisive corporate decisions, and some believe Harley is now experiencing the same fate. When a company built on a loyal customer base suddenly shifts its identity, it risks alienating its core audience. Critics argue that motorcycle companies should focus on making great bikes, not pushing political agendas. After all, people buy motorcycles for the thrill, the freedom, and the lifestyle, not for a lecture on corporate ethics. However, others argue that Harley's real problem is not politics, but bad business decisions. Some analysts believe that the company's decline is due to high prices, outdated models, and poor marketing rather than its corporate messaging. They argue that while Harley has been caught up in controversy, its biggest mistake has been failing to attract younger riders, keeping prices sky high, and relying too heavily on an aging customer base. Regardless of the reason, the damage has been done. Harley's image has changed, and for many riders, it is no longer the brand they fell in love with. The big question now is, can Harley fix its mistakes before it is too late? But Harley is not the only motorcycle brand to make these mistakes. Others have fallen into the same trap before. The death of brand loyalty. Why legacy brands are failing. Harley isn't the only company losing customers. This is happening across industries. For decades, legacy brands thrived on brand loyalty. Customers stuck with companies like Harley Davidson, Bud Light, Disney, and Nike because they represented something larger than just a product. They were symbols of identity, tradition, and trust. But in recent years, something has changed. Consumers are no longer staying loyal to brands that shift away from their core values, and the fallout has been severe. One of the most notable examples of this is Bud Light's brand crisis. Once the top-selling beer in the United States, Bud Light faced a massive backlash after a marketing campaign featuring a controversial influencer alienated its traditional consumer base. The result: a historic drop in sales and a complete reshuffling of the company's leadership. A beer that was once a staple of bars, parties, and sporting events suddenly found itself losing shelf space as customers walked away in droves. Disney has faced a similar backlash, though for different reasons. Long known for family-friendly entertainment, the company began injecting political messaging into its movies, alienating many parents who just wanted content their kids could enjoy. Multiple movie flops, declining park attendance, and a struggling streaming service have all led to Disney losing billions in market value. The company that once dominated Hollywood is now scrambling to win back its audience. Even Nike, a brand that once stood for athletic excellence, has faced growing criticism for prioritizing social activism over its core mission. While certain campaigns helped the brand in the short term, many longtime customers felt disconnected, resulting in declining sales in key markets. So, what is causing this widespread shift? The problem is simple. These brands forgot who they were selling to. They began prioritizing cultural messaging over their customers' actual needs. Instead of listening to their base, they tried to force their audience to embrace a new identity, one that many customers rejected. The consequences of this shift are clear. Brand loyalty is dying. Consumers are now quick to abandon companies that no longer represent their values. This is not just a temporary boycott, it is a fundamental change in how people interact with brands. But beyond branding, the real issue is the state of American manufacturing. The collapse of American manufacturing. Harley's decline is part of a larger trend of American industry struggling to survive. Harley Davidson's troubles are not just about marketing, they are part of a larger crisis in American manufacturing. For most of the 20th century, Harley proudly manufactured its motorcycles in the United States, using American workers and American materials. Owning a Harley was about more than just riding, it was about supporting American industry. But over time, Harley Davidson began outsourcing production. Parts were sourced from overseas suppliers, assembly lines were moved to different countries, and American jobs were lost in the process. The company tried to justify these changes by saying they needed to cut costs, but the reality is that this move damaged Harley's reputation. Many riders who once bought Harleys because they were made in America felt betrayed. They did not want a motorcycle with parts from China, India, or Thailand. They wanted the real thing, an authentic American-made machine. And when Harley failed to deliver, they looked elsewhere. This problem is not unique to Harley Davidson. Many American companies have made the same mistake. The auto industry has suffered from outsourcing, with factories closing down in states like Michigan and Ohio. Steel manufacturing has declined as companies look for cheaper materials abroad. Even tech companies, once proudly American, have shifted their supply chains overseas. The impact of this shift has been devastating. Small-town economies that once thrived on manufacturing jobs have collapsed. Cities that were once booming industrial hubs are now struggling with unemployment and economic stagnation. The American workforce is shrinking in key industries, and the middle class is paying the price. So, can government policies or trade deals save Harley Davidson? Possibly, but it will not be easy. The U.S. government has attempted to revive American manufacturing through tariffs and incentives for companies that produce domestically. But many corporations, including Harley, have already built supply chains that depend on foreign labor. For Harley Davidson to truly recover, it would need to fully commit to American production again. That means reopening domestic factories, hiring American workers, and rebuilding the trust they lost. But some motorcycle brands have found a way to survive without alienating their customers. The comeback brands. While Harley Davidson has struggled, other motorcycle brands have thrived, proving that it is possible to adapt without losing your identity. Indian Motorcycles has been one of Harley's biggest competitors in recent years. Once a forgotten brand, Indian was revived by Polaris Industries, which focused on honoring the brand's history while embracing innovation. Instead of chasing corporate trends, Indian leaned into its heritage, producing bikes that appealed to traditional riders while also offering modern performance. Royal Enfield, a brand with deep roots in classic motorcycling, has also seen a massive resurgence. By producing affordable, retro-styled motorcycles that prioritize simplicity over complexity, Royal Enfield has won over riders looking for an authentic experience. Instead of trying to reinvent itself, the brand focused on what made it great in the first place. Then there are Honda and Kawasaki, two brands that have consistently dominated the motorcycle market. While Harley struggled with branding and pricing, these companies offered reliable, high-quality bikes at affordable prices. Their success proves that giving customers what they actually want is still the best business strategy. So, what did these brands do that Harley did not? They stayed true to their core audience. They did not abandon the riders who made them successful in the first place. They did not try to force a new identity onto their customers. Instead, they listened, adapted, and delivered. Harley could have done the same. Instead of chasing trends, it could have focused on making its bikes more accessible, improving quality, and reinforcing its status as an American icon. But instead, it lost sight of what made the brand special. But the final question remains. Can Harley Davidson be saved? Is it too late for Harley to reclaim its former glory? Harley Davidson is at a crossroads. The company can continue on its current path, risking further decline, or it can take bold steps to rebuild trust and restore its legendary status. But what exactly needs to change? First, Harley must reconnect with its core audience. That means producing motorcycles that bikers actually want, not expensive, over-engineered machines that price out loyal riders. Second, Harley should refocus on American manufacturing. Customers want a Harley that is built in America by American workers using American parts. If Harley fully commits to Made in the USA, it could regain the trust of countless customers. Third, the company needs a complete leadership overhaul. Many riders no longer trust Harley's executives to make the right decisions. Bringing in a new CEO who understands the brand's roots could be the first step toward a real comeback. Finally, Harley needs to simplify its marketing and branding. Instead of chasing trends or trying to please everyone, it should focus on one thing: making the best motorcycles possible. Harley Davidson's future is hanging in the balance. Will they make a bold comeback, reconnect with their loyal riders, and reclaim their place as an American icon? Or will they continue down the same path, risking everything that made them legendary in the first place? One thing is certain: the motorcycle industry is changing fast, and only brands that truly understand their audience will survive. What do you think? Can Harley turn things around, or is this the beginning of the end? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this deep dive insightful, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next breakdown of the biggest shifts shaping the world today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.